As we continue with 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, it's also International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and its theme is to recognize their talents and to debunk myths and stereotypes. However, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities say there are serious and increasing concerns about the fact that people with disabilities are twice as likely to suffer gender-based violence. From the department, we are joined now by Deputy Minister Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize and Director of Advocacy and Mainstreaming, Benny Palime. Good to have both of you. Thank you very, very much for your time and for being with us.
Thank you, Leanne.
Deputy Minister, let me begin with you. Talk to us about women and children. The statement I made in the introduction being twice as likely to become victims of sexual abuse, of rape, intimate partner violence. Perhaps you can elaborate a little bit on this.
Well, you know, your statement is so accurate that I wouldn't like to spoil it. But basically, women, children, adolescents, and youth in general with special needs, they tend to be more vulnerable because they cannot even enter the criminal justice system from the police and so on to report their issues. People just ignore them or don't take them seriously. That has been a traditional approach. But of course, since the Emergency Response Action Plan of 2019, I think the police stations are better positioned now to deal with special cases. I was assured by the Minister of Police that they have people who are specialized. I think they are bringing back the child protection units. They are bringing back people who are specialists police who understand the dynamics of gender-based violence, and of course the disability sector, which I think is going to take our effort forward.
Mm. Do you believe, because you know we do get a lot of complaints when it comes to the treatment of women, and I can imagine of people with disabilities and children when they do go and report these crimes at police stations. You know, I know that you're saying it has improved, but on the ground, what people are saying is that it has not improved, and they feel that going and reporting it is A, waste of time, or B, they just feel that they're disrespected and they are not treated with the sensitivity that they deserve to be treated.
Well, I've heard that. I fully agree. We haven't done well since 1994. We are the signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but in terms of domestication of policies, implementation and legislation, we have not moved at the appropriate rate. Hence, people who experience discrimination and alienation on a daily basis, they feel they remain the underdogs in democracy. But I was just talking to extra measures that are being taken today. I'm sure Benny will talk even what is going on within the Justice Department to really make up. When we are with them in our webinars or meetings, we engage in an open and frank manner. We are not defensive. We are not denialist, but we are trying to find solutions as to how do we ensure that we move faster, given that we have lost so much time, not only in the criminal justice system, but in the world of work and in the education sector as well.
Yeah. Benny, let me bring you into the conversation. Do you think that the Department of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities are doing enough in across all departments? Obviously, I mean, this includes the media. It also includes campaigns to educate people, and also just a follow-up to what the Deputy Minister has been saying when it comes to the treatment in police stations and things like that.
Look, the important thing is that we look from, we work from an intersectoral, cross-sectoral approach in terms of government. So the expectation is that every other government department in all spheres of government must be able to deliver services to persons with disabilities. Now, The department itself is running programs such as, for instance, dealing with disability legislation, equity targets, programs such as looking at the strategic frameworks on reasonable accommodation, universal design, the monitoring aspect, that includes compliance reports, and the question of monitoring and evaluation. When it comes to issues like police station, for instance, Article 13 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities talks about access to justice. And that, all of it includes police stations. There's a case that came from the Eastern Cape High Court, where the judgment was that all police stations must be made accessible to persons with disabilities. Now, the South African Police has now developed a new approach where they can even interview the victim in a safe manner, either take the statement just outside the police station or inside, but in a manner that would actually be able to make the person feel comfortable to speak. So we're doing all those programs. We're running them parallel so that we teach government, we train our colleagues on the white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities, which is an overarching policy. It has an implementation matrix, and that's what the Deputy Minister is monitoring from time to time to see that this implementation matrix is turned into a service user type of document that will be able to guide the processes of how government delivers services to the people, persons with disabilities, no matter where they are, whether in the rural areas, the peri-urban, suburban, and so on. And you will see that in the process, especially within this month as it finishes now, we've done a lot of work around, working on the ground, taking services to the people, screening, working with the police stations, talking to the taxi industry as the Deputy Minister was leading the process. So you will see that we are actually doing the work at a high level approach. Okay. But government department and other spheres of government actually deliver services at the ground, but through the guidance of the policy that we monitor very closely. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, Deputy Minister, on the ground, obviously, there is a lot of talk of a societal issue that's at play here, because, I mean, at the moment, and you may or may not be aware of what is at the moment trending all over social media is a video clip that has surfaced of a woman that is being abused by her partner. I mean, we see it taking place on this video, and he's almost coaching her in what to say. And then the next video clip that has surfaced is of her going into a police station and reporting the person who posted this on social media, not the person who is abusing her, but the other way around, is that it's just an issue that is really so deep-rooted, it's almost, you don't know how to get to the bottom of it. I know that we spoke to the Minister in the previous hour, and Hlengiwe Zulu, she was aware of this case and also spoke about it. What are your views on something like this and what we are going through at a societal level?
There's this policy document which has been produced by both government officials as well as civil society organization, the National Strategic Plan. And it has got different pillars. There's one pillar number 2, which we're really leaning on very much because it talks to prevention and creation of social cohesion in society. In other words, where there are cultural practices, no matter how deep-rooted, no matter how prevalent, but with these pockets of social partners that we should be able to confront them, deconstruct them, and reconstruct different values. And so also government's decision to say policies are made at a national level, but implementation of all these priority programs, be it social programs or economic programs, should take place through the district development model, which is a landing strip. You land at a district, you enter communities that constitute that district. I think that also, where it's working well, if resources are put into the district development model, that should begin to have impact, as we will get to know that in this district, these are the people who have complained, what are their circumstances, and people will be able to disaggregate data, whether a person was a person with a disability or albinism or a young woman or a child, and then look at what we can do jointly at a local level to prevent this from occurring. Of course, parallel to our prevention programs is a criminal justice system, which must work for people.
And that is where the problem comes in, is sometimes that these cases take too long, evidence disappears, they're not reported, they wait forever. I mean, that the justice system needs to come to the party with all of this. Now, I am trying so hard to remember. There was such a beautiful young lady that we interviewed. It was, I think, last week or the week before. She is a person living with disability, and she spoke to some of the issues that she goes through and how they have to constantly get an updated permit or something that they have to go every 3 months to show that they are still disabled, to qualify for grants, to qualify for all of these kind of things. I mean, in reality, that doesn't work. If you are disabled, you are disabled. Why do they constantly need to go and get this documentation and stand in queues for hours or, have to subject themselves to that? Surely there's an easier way of assisting people with disabilities in society.
Fully agree. Nothing stops us for having special days. And the environment on special days should be structured differently, structured in such a way that it accommodates persons with special needs. We don't have to let them stand in long queues like any other person. We have to provide chairs so that they can sit. And of course, where they need assistance, we have to make sure we have interpreters and whatever form of assistance they need. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are practical things that if we get them right, they will go a long way in assuring persons who approach government offices that at least they care, at least they understand, they are with us. And so, we fully agree that there are many low-hanging fruit that we can implement while waiting for whatever legislation or humanitarian international instruments, but we have to bring our own Ubuntu, our own activism in dealing with people who approach government for assistance.
Yeah, Minister, it's hard to listen to this because I know you're agreeing and I know that you're saying it should be done and that we must do this. I mean, this is common logic. It's not something that should be done. It should be something that is happening. I mean, these are such simple things, and yet the disrespect is what's, for me, shining through, is that people with disabilities should not be subjected to what they are being subjected to. Women that have been through sexual crimes should not be going through what they are going through. And you and your department are fully aware of it, and yet nothing's happening.
Well, Leanne, we have the Interministerial Committee chaired by our own Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability. There's also the Minister of Social Development, Minister of Police, Minister of Finance, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Minister of Public Service Administration. We raise these issues sharply. We have the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, which really overall gives us report which talks to the realities on the ground. I suppose, maybe where there are no consequences, people will continue with the practice no matter how bad it is, how harmful it is to beneficiaries. So through the Department of Public Service Administration, we have to tighten consequent management. I know you say it should be happening today, it should have happened yesterday, not tomorrow. But we'll continue to use our monitoring tools to advocate, to push for certain actions to be taken. And we do believe that with the political will, right at the level of the president, who is always making clear commitments about how vulnerable groups should be empowered, we will soon see a difference.
Benny, let me ask you, do you think
Yes.
the Department of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities are basically, helping enough? Obviously, I know you have spoken to this a little bit, but I mean, when we talk about the different forms of issues that do face people with disabilities and women in society, do you think enough help is out there, is available? Are you reaching the people that are actually going through this on the ground? And if so, how are you doing that?
I will give you a simple example. For instance, we speak to government departments, we speak to local government. We even have gone to do a log frame for local government with them. The important thing is to reach out to people where they are. I always believe that you must take the services to the people. The people don't have to come and get services from you. You must take them there. I'll give you a simple example. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when it started, first wave, we had to go to the work streams and make sure that all the matters of COVID-19 on disability mainstreaming are actually in all the work streams. Secondly, there was a simple issue around guide dogs. Remember, guide dogs are an essential to a person with a visual impairment. We had to go to the legal work stream and say, no, if you say dogs cannot walk in the streets, but these ones will have to, give an exception. And we won that. And guide dogs were then able to walk in the streets with blind people. The second example, it's a very one. The second example, without taking too much time, there was an issue around caregivers. They were struggling to get permits, and we went into the work streams and said, caregiving is essential service. So you give them essential service permits so that they can get to work and look after persons with disabilities within the regulations. And these are the perfect examples that I'm giving you that show you that actually we deliver to that extent. Now, remember, our mandate still remains a mandate of monitoring and evaluation, advocacy, mainstreaming, institutional development and capacity building, and so on. But we are not saying we're running away from services. But we're emphasizing that government departments must deliver services where the people are themselves. We get complaints from persons with disabilities. I mean, I take almost 100 calls at a go, maybe on one day, from people who are complaining. And we don't refer them back to municipalities and so on. We intervene directly. We call the municipality and say, hey, there's something wrong here. Can you please attend to this aspect of it? So that's how the department works. Oh, by the way, and we will be having the presidential working group today, Leanne, just to say that
good.
Persons with disabilities, yes, will meet the president today in the working group, and the president will speak to the nation later on. Thank you.
I thank both of you for your time and for talking to us here on the program. It is an important issue. It certainly is. And it won't be the last time we speak of it. Good luck with the meeting with the President. And we hope that that is something that will bear some fruits and help those that are going through it. That was our guest, Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, the Deputy Minister, and Benny Palime, who's the Director of Advocacy and Mainstreaming, both from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, talking to us about the fact that women and children living with disabilities are twice as likely to fall victim to sexual abuse and other forms of abuse.